Good evening and welcome to the Paranormal Lens podcast. It's Tuesday night, and as usual, I'm here with Jamie Widener. We're both part of Jotnick's Paranormal, hanging out with you guys tonight, talking about some fun stuff. Jamie, how was your week?
Busy, dude. We did stuff.
We did.
We physically went somewhere and did things together.
Uh-huh. Well, at the same place. We didn't
The
go
same
to.
place. Well,
Yeah.
we were in the same area together at the same time, so it was pretty cool. We'll get to that in a second. Hopefully, everybody got out and voted today. I can prove it. Can you?
I did not get my sticker. I was there at the very last minute, but
I, I got one of the last two they had. It's 6:30 or so today. So same story. Yeah.
so yeah, I
But
didn't.
it is election day. Hopefully, everyone's been out there to do it. If you're in the mountain time zone here in the U.S. or the West Coast in the Pacific time, you still got time. We'll wait. Go ahead and go. We'll just hold here, right?
Right? Sure.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
Or they can watch us later, Jamie.
Yeah.
They can watch us later.
Go do it. We'll be here for you later. No worries. But yeah, it's that day again. It's amazing. So glad you got to go do it. Civic
Mhm.
duty, responsible citizen that you are,
Yeah.
upstanding citizen at that. So,
That these elections don't get as much coverage as some of the other ones, but they're just as important. You've got school boards, you've got mayors, you've got
yep.
local things that are just as important as some of the bigger races.
Sure.
So
Your judicial support, your judges are in there as well. So there's a lot of things that really impact. Most things happen in government at the local level. That's where the true impact it has on us. The federal things, of course, taxes, all that stuff. They're bigger things, but the true governance that we all have a direct hand in happens at the local level, the municipal level, even.
mhm.
Um, and most people don't. You're right. Don't pay attention to it. And as someone who used to go to borough council meetings here regularly, it's part of my job, so I'll admit that. But
Mhm.
I didn't understand all of the activities that it really wasn't included in it until I started attending regularly, and then the mechanism of it
Mm.
all, and the lack of input. These are people making policies and decisions around that impacts a lot of people with very little input from them. And of course, it's encouraged to attend and it's welcome to attend, but people just don't do it. It's,
No.
it's I won't say it's disappointing because it is. We're all busy people. I get it, but
Right. Right.
it is. It's interesting how it happens that way.
Mhm. So
So, sorry,
no,
side
that's okay.
tangent over.
We
Come
both
back.
went down the rabbit hole. So, but you want to maybe talk a little bit about this past weekend?
Yeah, dude. So there were a couple things that happened. Like one is Halloween, right? So
Mhm.
Friday night, trick or treat night was fun. And I live in a neighborhood that has a smattering of kids, so it's hit or miss whether we get many. And we actually got probably a record in like 25 groups of kids.
Oh wow.
Um, but I used to live in a neighborhood where 25 kids would come like every 5 minutes. So this was a pace we weren't used to, where it was well beyond before.
Uh-huh.
Um, but trick or treat's always fun. Kids dressed up, excitement, energy, all that stuff makes you remember when you were a kid. How you felt, especially when you run home with a bag of candy and you're like, yeah, you know, the loot afterwards. Um, but then that Saturday, then we went and did a thing, and I'm really happy that we did. I'm so excited to talk about it. Actually, I've been thinking about how to say this during the last couple of days, but um, first, I want to stop and say thank you to Anthony Simonelli, who coordinated this. Anthony is a friend of ours. He is with the um, Paranormal Seekers Chronicles, and um, just an all around great guy.
Hmm.
Uh, Jenny Colucci, Kim Geyer, all host the podcast that's actually running right now as well. So if you Google them, you'll find them. They do a great job with their program. We were on it a couple months ago, back in the summer. But also some other folks, Joe and Connie and Dana, that I didn't know very well other than reputation, were along, Christina as well. And you and Alex and I all went to the 1912 Hoover House out in Waynesboro
Right.
for Saturday night, and it is something that I will never forget. It really left an impression. And the house it was built in 1912, so it's 113 years old or so.
Hmm.
The Hoovers were the original family, hence Hoover House. It's been a lot of things through the years. It's been a restaurant twice. It's been a retirement home once. been a private residence quite a few times, and it's had activity from all those layers.
Right.
And at least the rumor of it is, and that's nice to hear coming into something, so you have something to work with. But I think we found it to be mostly true. So
Yeah, and I think we discovered some new things,
yeah, absolutely.
especially there at the end. Um,
Yeah. So the cool thing for me is I got to stay and I stayed overnight. So and with that, I stayed in a room called the Primrose Room, which
mhm,
was a residence room back in the day of the retirement community. And we investigated the third floor and started worked our way down. And UI, Alex, Kim, and Jenny were together.
mhm,
And in the one other bedroom on the floor, there is a crawl space, or not even a crawl space, but it's a storage space that's beyond the room, and it's unfinished. So there was activity in there. Took us out to the room that I'm staying in, and we closed the door there. There was a hall light. There was a landing at the top of the stairs, a wide landing actually, and I'm standing facing that door, and something moved from left to right, blocked out the light.
mhm.
Jenny saw it as well. So, of course, my first reaction is, "What the f was that?"
Yeah, I think Alex saw it too. I'm not sure, but I think
You may be right. We're all generally facing that way, and it was obvious. It was dark, and it's a bright light out there. Otherwise,
mhm,
it's an old 5-panel door, wooden door, so it's got that gap underneath it. So hence the light was, pretty
mm,
bright, and it's a bright light anyway. It's right there.
mhm,
So Jenny went out to redo this to replicate it, and certainly she did block the light.
right,
But we heard her moving. We had no
right.
sound before.
Well, and as soon as we saw it, you jumped up and opened the door to see if, like, there was somebody out
Yeah.
there, and
And there wasn't. There's nowhere for someone to go to. There was
right,
a door to the right where would have been moving to. That door is secured. It's the residence for Pam and Steve Barry, the owners. Super cool people. Um, and they weren't. No one was out there. And the
right,
door was, of course, shut. These doors make noise. Every time I open and close that door, it's the old block and tackle doorway. Door handle
mhm,
and lock. It makes noise. Everything
right,
does. It's an old house. So we couldn't figure out what it could have been. So, when you take away the things that are normal, what's left is
paranormal.
right. So, then we had a very interesting EVP of "Get Out Here" in a male voice, which
Mhm,
not "Get out of here," like get out of the room, but "Get out here," like being in the hallway. Which again, that's where we just had activity. So,
mhm,
it was quite interesting.
mhm.
Um, and then I had to sleep in there.
Uh-huh.
So,
My
and the world's creepiest doll was
oh,
on the bed.
yeah,
Um,
we should have gotten a picture of that, Jamie,
Oh, I did. I have plenty of pictures of it.
but,
The before and after I moved it as well to make sure it didn't move back.
mhm,
But I moved it off to a chair and
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that
man.
was it was a lot of fun that night. It was our first experience working with Anthony,
Mhm.
first experience working with Kim,
Yes.
who I really liked working with both of them. But Kim is a very gifted psychic medium,
Yes.
and she and another person, there was a there were. It's an interesting house because as you walk in, there's two parlors, one on the left, one on the right,
Yep.
which were at one point resident rooms. They both had fireplaces, and it was just really interesting. But the one on the left, everybody, two of the people, including one of them, including Kim, was like, "I see a coffin in that room," and that got us. Um, it got us. It gave us a basis for an investigation, but it also allowed us at the same time to do research,
Yes.
and we were doing active research as we were investigating, which was something unique that we typically don't do. But we were able to find out that the matriarch of the family passed away in the house, and the viewing and service was held in the house as well. So it sort of tied everything together. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
It
I
was a
agree.
really good experience, and I hope you stayed for breakfast. I know I bailed out and had to leave, but
I sure did, and it was one of the best breakfasts I've ever had. So,
well, that's good. Good. So,
thanks to Pam for that.
mhm,
What a great set of hosts, Pam and Steve Barry. They own the joint. They are the founders of the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash as well, and the leaders of that entity that has become this bigger thing.
right.
Um, but just really, really fun folks to hang out with. A really cool vibe of the place. And Pam made a great breakfast, so worth
That's
worth
good.
every second of it.
I'm gonna
Uh,
have to go back just for that.
yeah.
and
You probably just show up around 8 o'clock, you'll be okay. Um,
um, and they've got some other things that they're tied into, so I think it's definitely worth a
yeah,
night or two over there. So
yeah, we'll get back again. I'm sure of that. There was some conversation around a summertime event that in a nearby battlefield, not the Gettysburg battlefield, but and this is very very close to Gettysburg,
right.
but an access point that is available for investigators to actually go out onto a battlefield, which is so cool
Hmm.
because you never get that.
Right.
Gettysburg is a national park, so it's frowned upon. Um, and you can get arrested. And we talked about it actually. Even to walk out in there on the daytime with equipment, you can have it taken from you because they think you're an artifact taker. You're there to get something, find something and take it away, which is you can't even take a rock off of there,
Right.
out of the field. So, um, not that no one's ever done that, but
Right.
technically you're stealing public,
Right.
federal property, so it's a felony,
Yep. So
which is interesting.
so Stacy said that it's the
Ah,
best breakfast ever. So
and agreed, absolutely. So looking forward to the next time.
so so yeah, it was a good weekend, and
Yeah, and that's we haven't talked about the basement yet. So there's a whole nother place. Activity we had down there was fantastic as well. So we'll save that for another time. But
yep.
um, I
So
have I have hours of recordings to go through, and I have not had time since Saturday into Sunday.
yeah.
So hopefully I'll have something for you next week to
Yep.
dig into a little bit more.
I'm the same boat.
Yeah,
So but anyway,
yeah.
this past weekend while we were there, which was November 1st and 2nd, was a holiday celebrated in Mexico or Mexico, depending how your pronunciation is. I don't know what I did to myself, Jamie. There's lots of words in this one that I wasn't thinking, but the celebration is Dia de los Muertos. Um,
Uh, Hold on, we got to back step this for a second. There's a road trip for Waynesboro, so
uh huh.
that's almost a home game. So
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
yes, and
close.
yes.
So
Let's get it done.
so so anyway, tonight's subject's a little different for us. It's something I've heard of, but I don't know much about. Now, Jamie, you lived in the Southwest, correct?
Yes,
So
a couple times.
you probably had more exposure to the celebration than I did, right?
Yes, and in the I lived in I went to college in Albuquerque, and lived in Santa Fe, and I also then eventually lived in Phoenix as well. So, there is a large Latino population there,
Okay.
and culturally there are a lot of things that are uniquely different than say here in our area where we are old, boring white people. Um, so when we have a lot of influence and things like that, a lot of German, directly in our culture here, but a lot of we are the landing spot for the Europeans where the Southwest is not
Right.
necessarily. So, but yeah, a very diverse and different culture there.
Correct. So, um, like I said, I've heard of it, but I only knew that it was celebrated right after Halloween, and it's by the people of Mexico. But like you said, a little bit more than that. A lot of Latin America, and of course, there's a Disney movie named Coco that was based on it. So those are the two things that I really knew about it. So there's definitely a lot more to it than that. Um, when I started researching the holiday, I learned that it is one of the most important celebrations in Latin America. Its origins trace back to ancient Aztec traditions, and the focus is not on mourning the dead, but celebrating their lives. The root of Dia de los Muertos stretches back thousands of years, long before the Spanish arrived in Central America with their Catholic beliefs, rituals, and holidays. If we could go back roughly 3,000 years to a pre-Columbian Mesoamerica, we would find a similar but distinct tradition. The Nahua and Aztec people who lived in what is now central Mexico believed that life and the universe were part of a great cycle, and that death was not an end, but a natural and ever present part of that cycle. According to History.com, upon dying, a person was believed to travel to here we go, Chickamanumineclan, the land of the dead. Only after getting through 9 challenging levels, a journey of several years, could the person's soul finally reach Mictlan, the final resting place. In Nahua rituals honoring the dead, traditionally held in August, family members offered food, water, and tools to aid the deceased on this difficult journey. The Aztecs also had a festival dedicated to Mictecausahuatl, the Lady of the Dead. She was believed to rule over Mictlan and watch over the bones of the dead and even swallow the stars during the day. So she was a very important goddess to them. When the Spanish conquered the native people in 1521, they brought Catholicism with them. The church, of course, didn't share the same beliefs and began replacing native traditions with Christian ones, including All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. These holidays now fall on November 1st and 2nd, but they weren't always celebrated then either. Some research suggests that All Saints' Day was originally observed around mid-May, and it wasn't until sometime between the 7th and 10th centuries that it was moved to November. There's also a theory that this shift aligned the holiday with the pagan festival of Samhain, which we talked about in an earlier episode. By forcing the native celebrations to coincide with these Catholic dates, the Spanish unknowingly helped create something entirely unique, a powerful fusion of indigenous and Christian beliefs that evolved into the modern day Dios de los Muertos. So let's take a look at how it's celebrated. As we mentioned earlier, the holiday takes place on November 1st and 2nd, but it's not just a 2-day party. It's a carefully structured and deeply meaningful tradition that involves days of preparation. One of the most important parts of the celebration is creating the ofrenda, or offering. This term can refer to both the altar itself and the items placed upon it. These ofrendas are built to honor and welcome the spirits of loved ones who have passed on. Each ofrenda includes elements that represent the four natural forces: water, wind, earth, and fire. Water, or maybe another drink, um, is placed in a pitcher so the spirits can quench their thirst after their long journey. Wind is symbolized by colorful paper banners called pape picadoa. Earth is represented typically by food, often pan de muerto, a special sweetbread baked for the occasion. Fire is shown through candles, usually arranged in the shape of a cross, with each arm pointing toward the cardinal direction to help guide the spirits home. And I did it again. I forgot to start the slides.
I was going to ask when you gave me a break to do it. So yeah,
So, all right.
there you go.
So, as with many tradition, the details vary by region. In some areas, you'll find flat altars with elements displayed side by side. However, most ofrendas are tiered, with 3 levels representing heaven, earth, and the underworld. Some elaborate versions even feature 7 levels, symbolizing the steps a soul takes to reach peace. Another well-known symbol of the holiday is the calavera or skull. A calaverita is a small skull, and a calavera de azucar is what is also known as a sugar skull. According to an article on Refinery 29, Juan Aguirre, director of Mana a Mano, a New York-based organization celebrating Mexican culture, explains that these skulls represent death. But death doesn't have to be bitter. It can be sweet. He also points out that Dia de Muertos, without the los, which is an American addition, is a celebration, not a time of mourning. People often leave sugar skulls on altars as offerings, sometimes decorated with the names of loved ones who have died. It's a way of honoring their spirit. But sugar skulls can also be given to the living, a sweet and symbolic gesture of appreciation. As Aguirre puts it, it might seem strange. Why give someone a sugar skull with their name on it? But it's a way of showing love and respect. When the original festival honoring Mictecausahuatl, the Lady of the Dead, was celebrated, real skulls were once placed on the altars. While that may seem unsettling today, the belief was that the bones of the deceased were needed in the next life, and Mictecauatl protected them. Personally, I think using sugar skulls is a much more joyful and creative way to honor that ancient tradition. Each one is handcrafted with care, often by skilled artisans who specialize in making these beautiful, intricate decorations. True works of art that bring sweetness to the remembrance. Another edible delight enjoyed during the holiday is pan de muerto, or bread of the dead. This slightly sweet, enriched bread has a very distinct and meaningful design. It begins with a round loaf, symbolizing the eternal cycle of life and death. On top, strips of dough are arranged in an equilateral cross pattern, representing the bones of the deceased. In the center sits a small ball of dough, which can symbolize a skull, a heart, or even a tear shed for the departed. The bread is often flavored with orange zest and anise seed or brushed with orange blossom water, then dusted with colored sugar. The combinations of scents and flavor serves as a lively reminder of life itself, sweet, fragrant, and fleeting. It's also said that the aroma of the bread as it bakes helps guide the spirits home. Another powerful symbol of Dia de Muertos is the Sampachuchil, or Mexican marigold. These brilliant orange and yellow flowers have become an iconic part of the celebration. While ancient peoples once used them for medicinal purposes, today they are most often used to decorate graves and altars. It's believed that the vibrant colors and strong scent of the marigold help attract and guide the spirits back to the world of the living. If you attend a Dia de Muertos celebration, you'll see these orange and yellow blossoms everywhere, sometimes joined by a less common deep pink variety. Children often take part by crafting paper marigolds, adding their own joyful touch to the celebration of life and remembrance. Earlier, I mentioned pape picado, or paper banners, which are used to represent the element of wind. These beautifully crafted banners are cut with intricate designs and add vibrant color and movements to the altar as they flutter around its edges. Their delicate motion is said to symbolize the presence of spirits and the fragility of life itself. Another striking decoration you'll often see is the tapete de arena, or sand tapestry. These stunning works of art are created from colored sand with pigments and often include other materials like seeds, beans, flower petals, and sawdust. The tapete represents the element of earth, grounding the altar and honoring the physical world. While some designs depict religious scenes, many portray death in a playful or whimsical way, reflecting the belief that death is not something to fear, but to understand and celebrate. This tradition actually originated in Spain as part of the Feast of Corpus Christi, but it was later adopted and transformed in Mexico, becoming an integral part and uniquely expressive part of Dia de Muertos. Another tradition that dates back to pre Hispanic times is the burning of copal incense. Copal has been used in Mesoamerica since ancient times and continues to play an important role in spiritual and ceremonial practices today. During Dia de Muertos, it's often burned on or near the altar, serving as an aromatic invitation that helps guide the spirits home. The word copal comes from the Nahuatl word copali, meaning incense. It is derived from the copal tree, and its use carries deep symbolism, representing the transformation from the physical to the spiritual, the tree becoming perfumed smoke, and that rising smoke is believed to carry prayers to heaven and to the gods. In ancient Aztec and Mayan civilizations, copal was placed in clay incense burner as an offering, food for the gods. It was traditionally burned at the four cardinal points and offered to the sun, symbolizing both gratitude for the harvest and protection for the people. Copal was also used in cleansing rituals such as temazcal, the sweat lodges, and in preparation for protective or purifying remedies. During Dia de Muertos, it's placed on the altar to purify the space, allowing the spirits of loved ones to enter the home safely and peacefully. Beyond its spiritual significance, copal is also valued for its therapeutic properties. Indigenous communities have long used different varieties of copal to treat headaches, stomach pain, respiratory issue, burns, fevers, and even ailments caused by cold or humidity. If you travel to Mexico, you can participate in a Temazcal ritual. The scent of copal is more than just pleasant. It's sacred, soothing, and symbolic, connecting the living with the divine and the physical world with the spiritual one. So we've talked about many of the elements that make up the altars, but now let's look at the ways people celebrate during Dia de Muertos. One of the most lively and colorful traditions is the compasa, or carnival-like procession, where people dress in elaborate costumes, paint their faces, and dance through the streets. Comparsas plays a major role in Oaxaca, Oaxaca's Day of the Dead celebration, where the creativity and artistry of the costumes are truly something to see. Among the most iconic figures you'll see is the La Catrina, the elegant female skeleton dressed up in the fashion of upper class women from the early 1900s. She was created by Mexican artist Jose Guadalupe Posada, who originally used skeleton illustrations as a humorous way to satirize the vanity and excess of the society's elite. Over time, La Catrina became a symbol of Dia de Muertos, representing the idea that death is the great equalizer. It comes for everyone, regardless of wealth or status. Another popular costume is that of the monarch butterfly, which holds special meaning in Dia de Muertos tradition. It's believed that these butterflies carry the soul of the departed, returning to their visit to their loved ones. This beautiful belief aligns with nature's rhythm. The first monarchs arrive in Mexico each fall around November 1st, perfectly coinciding with the start of Dia de Muertos. Now, while the symbols and traditions we've discussed are central to Dia de Muertos, the celebration itself is much more than these elements. Dia de Muertos is a celebration that bridges life and death, weaving together memory, love, and community into a living tapestry. It begins on November 1st, Dia de los Angelitos, the day of the little angels. This tender day honors children who have passed away, reflecting that the belief that all children are innocent and become angels upon death. Homes and altars, or ofrendas, are transformed into vivid spaces of remembrance. Toys, candles, favorite foods, and photographs are carefully arranged, each item an invitation for the child's spirit to visit. The glow of the candles dances across the room, and the air is filled with the fragrant scent of marigolds and incense, creating a sacred yet welcoming atmosphere. In Lake Patwa, in the Lake Patwa region, the town of Sana Ana Surumipa observes a moving tradition. Each newly deceased child receives a cabalito and rosada, a horse covered in flowers. Communities work together in vibrant workshops. Some gather twigs, reeds, twine, and flowers, while others bend and shape the materials into delicate horse forms. The horses are decorated with bright cempasúchil, the marigolds, and purple coxcomb flowers. And a piece of fruit, an apple or a pear, is tied around the horse's neck, nourishing the horse and the child's spirit for its journey home. In other villages, wooden horses shaped like sawhorses carry twine laden with nuts and fruits, serving the same purpose. Figurines of dogs accompany the horses, guiding the children who may not yet know the way. Each element on the altar tells a story, a gesture of love and remembrance. Despite the heartbreak of losing a child, Dia de los Angelitos is bright and colorful and full of life. Families celebrate the child's spirit, finding joy in the knowledge that while a life has been lost, an angel has been gained. As the clock strikes midnight on November 2nd, the focus shifts to adult loved ones. Altars are refreshed with items that reflect personalities of the deceased: tequila, mezcal, pan de muerto, jars of atole, photographs, and personal keepsakes. Families gather around these ofrendas to share meals, play games, reminisce, and dance while local bands fill homes and plazas with lively music. The atmosphere is a delicate balance of grief, remembrance, and joyful celebration, honoring the lives of those who have passed. By mid-morning into noon, the festivities move into the streets. City squares become alive with parades, music, dancers, and participants with the calavera painted faces, transforming into a playful yet reverent skeleton that symbolizes the cycle of life and death. Families visit cemeteries, cleaning and restoring grave markers, sweeping away leaves and dirt, and decorating graves with marigolds, candles, and sugar skulls bearing the names and personal mementos. The scent of flowers and incense fills the air, while the vibrant colors of altars and graves create a breathtaking tribute to those who came before. Together, the symbols, rituals, and celebrations of Dia los Muertos form a living bridge between the living and the dead. Every flower, every candle, every offering carries meaning, guiding spirits home and allowing families to honor them fully. It is a festival where grief and joy, memory and celebration, the sacred and the communal exist side by side. Dia de Muertos shows us that love endures, that memory lives on, and that those we have lost are never truly gone. They walk beside us through every flower strewn path, candlelit night, and lively street parade, forever part of our story. Dia de Muertos is celebrated across Mexico and beyond, each religion adding its own vibrant colors, flavors, and traditions to this cherished holiday. In central Mexico, families create elaborate ofrendas inside their homes, adorned with sugar skulls, as we discussed before. The streets of Mexico City and surrounding towns come alive with parades and festivals, where people paint their faces as calaveras and dance through the city, blending solemn remembrance with joyful celebration. In Oaxaca, the holiday takes on a theatrical, almost carnival like energy. Here, comparsas, parades of people in intricate costumes fill the streets, moving to the rhythm of drums and traditional music. Altars are crafted with astonishing artistry, reflecting both indigenous heritage and Spanish influence. And offerings often feature local specialties like tamales, mole, and regional sweets. Further west, in Michoacan, the shores of Lake Pátzcuaro glow at night with thousands of candles as families gather in cemeteries, decorating graves with marigold, food, and personal mementos. On the islands, particularly in the San Angel Surumucapio, the striking Cabalito and Rosado, small horses covered in flowers are created to guide the spirits of children home. Wooden horses and figurines of dogs also serve as companions for returning souls, a poignant reminder of love and care beyond the grave. Phew, I think those are the most of the long words. I hope.
You got this. I believe in you.
So, on the Yucatan Peninsula, the Mayan influence transforms the holiday into Hanal Piushan, where altars include traditional foods like maize, beans, and regional drinks. Rituals may incorporate prayers and ceremonies unique to Mayan heritage, blending seamlessly with Catholic traditions to honor the dead. In northern Mexico and border regions, celebrations are often more intimate, with families tending to smaller home altars, yet even here, the holiday thrives, absorbing influences from nearby U.S. traditions while maintaining its heartfelt essence of remembrance. Across all of these regions, the common thread remains. Dia de Muertos is a time to remember, honor, and celebrate, whether through grand public displays or quiet family gatherings. Through marigolds and candles, sugar skulls and music, each celebration is a living story of love, memory, and connection. A reminder that those who have passed continue to walk with us, lighting our paths and inspiring our hearts. So that's most of the history and talking about the celebration itself. Now, we always try to find some stories of paranormal things that are related to our topic. Tonight, I debated whether or not that was the right thing to do with this topic, but I decided to pursue it and found three stories on the Vocal Media website. These stories were shared by a content creator that goes by Rain Screaming for Terror. So this first one is called The Last Day. I was having breakfast with my brother that day when my mom approached me and mentioned she wanted both of us to take her to visit my grandparents' tomb so she could drop off some food, among other things, because it was the last day of the dead celebration. It was my brother. It was my brother, both my parents and myself. We took off that morning, and my mother decided to make a full day out of it at the last minute. I got to tell you, I was a little annoyed by her decision, but we were about 30 minutes into the road, so I had no choice. She wanted to stop by two of my aunt's houses, as well as altar, but she didn't want to spend the night with them, either of them. We took care of business at the cemetery and headed towards my aunt's house. We had lunch, we had some laughs, and moved on, headed towards the other house. By the time we'd realized it had gotten a little late, my aunt insisted on us spending the night, but my mother utterly refused. Something about her having a horrific paranormal experience there that she never wanted to talk about, and there was no way in hell she was going to stay. It was close to midnight when we started heading back. The road was deserted and creepy, and I was extremely tired. It had been a long day already. My brother, being the doofus that he is, keeps making jokes and creepy sounds. My parents were out, and I didn't want to wake them up just because he was being an idiot. I kept driving, and he kept at it. I was at my wits' end when he decided to turn my lights off and told me, "When you turn the lights on again, you're going to see a scary face in the windshield." I lightly punched him and I turned the lights back on. As soon as I did, I almost hit a group of people that were walking on the side of an empty road. It looked like it was a family of five. The parents and the kids, I was assuming. I got so freaked out, but I was able to brake in time. The weird thing is that the family had no reaction when my brakes screeched. I was almost about to hit them with my car, and there was nothing from them. They didn't turn around. They didn't yell. They didn't get scared. Absolutely nothing but silence. I stayed in place for a few minutes to collect my thoughts, and my brother asked if we should go check on them to make sure they were okay. But the family just kept walking down the road. They were they were motionless, arms to the side, and they just kept walking, looking forward. It was kind of strange seeing a group of people at the time of night, especially on that particular isolated road. I decided to start driving again, but lower my speed this time, and since my brother felt guilty, he put his head out the window and yelled at them, "Hey, are you guys okay? Need any help?" He turns around, paper white, and in low but urgent voice tells me, "Drive. We need to get out of here." Again, thinking he was playing around, I lower my speed even more. "Grace, you need to listen to me and drive," he tells me again. "Those people have no eyes." "What? Stop messing with me," I said. "I'm not joking. I promise. Please, for the love of God, drive." I started getting scared myself, and I didn't want to look his way. Hesitant at first, I started to drive, but curiosity got the best of me, and at the last minute, I decided to look through my rearview mirror. My brother was right. These people had no eyes. I had never seen or experienced anything paranormal before. I was frozen in fear, but I just speed up without looking at them until they vanished in the distance. The rest of the way was quiet. We couldn't even look at each other, nevertheless, say anything at all. We told our mom what happened the following day, and very casually she tells us, "Oh, I believe what you guys saw. No need to be scared. It was just the dead going back to where they came from. It was their last day." So that's the first story. This one's called The Cemetery. This story was told by my grandfather many times. It happened to him about 50 years ago. On on that particular day, he was a resident of a small town called Brownsville, Texas, near the Rio Grande River that borders Mexico. He went to a party that night with three of his friends for about an hour or so in the neighboring town of McAllen. With him being the only one with a reliable vehicle at that time, his friends asked him if they could drop him off afterwards since they all lived in the other towns in between. He happily agreed without a problem. On his way back after the party, he was alone on the road for about 15 minutes or so. He had to pass an old abandoned cemetery before he reached his house. But out of nowhere, he had to stop abruptly and come to a full stop in the middle of the road because there were several people blocking his way. They were headed into the cemetery carrying what looked to be a casket. He was dumbfounded and confused since he knew for a fact that there were no services held at that particular cemetery, Nevertheless, at 4 o'clock in the morning, he hadn't had much to drink, so he knew he wasn't drunk, and he was not imagining things. He heard music and the people mourning too. Since he was kind of a snoop, he decided to park and get off just to take a peek. He said he got near the entrance, and what he saw he will never forget. When the people were stepping inside the cemetery grounds, they started to disperse to different areas of it. Some just vanished into thin air as soon as they walked in. He couldn't believe what he was watching. They were coming back from visiting their loved ones, he assumed, and now they were taking their rightful place. A few days after the incident, he couldn't take it anymore. He had been feeling ill since that night. He had a high fever and was extremely jumpy and hadn't been able to sleep at all. He went to my great grandmother's house and told her all about it, and she told him he was probably spooked from that night. Her, being a firm believer of the supernatural, told him that he was lucky to be alive and to have witnessed something that he wasn't supposed to have seen to begin with. Something they don't know. Sometimes they don't know they're dead, and we don't know what an angry spirit might be capable of. She blessed him with sage, did a couple of prayers, and turned on some candles for the lost spirits, just in case my grandfather was back to his usual self. Oh, just in case. And my grandfather was back to his usual self in a few days after that. So, one more story. This one's called The School, and it goes, I want to share a story that happened to me several years ago. I was about to get my teaching certificate in Mexico City when they sent two other colleagues and me out to finish our final practices to be able to fully graduate to a small deserted town on top of a mountain. The community was very humble, rural, and extremely isolated from the main city. Due to the economic marginalization, we had a very limited resources to work with. When we arrived, we realized we had two small shacks that were meant to be our classroom, a little tiny bathroom, and an adjoined room in the back for the three of us to share, and we set up our sleeping quarters. The kids, as well as the parents, weren't very welcoming. They didn't like strangers, and nonetheless city strangers. We did our best to get the kids to participate and enjoy our teaching methods, but they were just hesitant and untrustworthy of pretty much everything. We tried and tried to no avail, but since the Day of the Dead celebration was around the corner, we figured we could merge some of our customs along with theirs. They were hesitant at first, but eventually gave in. The kids and the parents arrived around 6 p.m. or so. They brought a whole bunch of different items, and they all seemed to be enjoying themselves. Since it was around 25 to 30 kids or so, the altar turned out to be bigger than we had expected. 8 o'clock came by, and we had to call it quits since it was getting extremely dark. There was no public power outside, and our only light source was the lighting from our cell phones, which wasn't very much. We told the parents that we would manage and the rest, and they should go home for the night. My colleagues and I started getting a little creeped out since behind us was nothing but a wooded area, and we started hearing weird noises we weren't used to, but figured it was a Mother Nature doing her thing. We ended up finishing the setup around 9:30 or so, and by then we were famished. We proceeded to have dinner in the area where he had set up and started talking about the celebration. We then hear a small little taps coming from the window on the other side of the classroom. I had previously locked it. I could see one of my colleagues was spooked, so I told her that it was probably a tree branch brushing up against the window. She shrugged her shoulders and kept on with her dinner. Then my other colleague decided to speak up with a semi-sarcastic tone and said, after everything we've set up for them, how dare they try and scare us? As soon as she finished that sentence, there was a sudden burst of cold air that appeared out of nowhere. Two small tables that we used randomly suddenly lifted into thin air and smashed into the wall right in front of us. Books, papers, school supplies, you name it, were flying everywhere, like if some sort of invisible force was throwing them on purpose. We were paralyzed in fear, and we had no other choice but to move towards one of the corners of the classroom. Our fear was so consuming that we didn't even try running towards the door. Right there in front of us, everything just kept flying, and we didn't know what to do to stop it. After what seemed like an eternity, the activity finally stopped, and we both just looked at the other girl. We knew that it had been her comment that started all the activity. We finally found the courage to separate, and we flew out of there thanks to a loud thundering crash that happened right between us. We ran and we locked ourselves in our sleeping area without being able to sleep a wink. The following day, we had to go and make sure everything was fine for the morning classes before the students got there. It looked like a tornado had passed by, and everything was in disarray. It took us a little while to put everything back into place. When the parent of one of the students showed up, we were hesitant to tell her about what had happened, but we did, and she seemed calm about it. She mentioned that the area had been a camp for revolutionary refugees and thousands of people had perished there, so it might have been them making their presence known the night before. Locals have witnessed paranormal activity in the school area before. They know better, and they pay their respects every chance they get to keep the peace, something that obviously we didn't know. Everything was fine the rest of our stay with us, but our third colleague, it wasn't the same. She would constantly wake up at 3:30 a.m. for no reason. She would also wake up with bruises or scratches all over her body. It was taking a toll on her, but she admitted it had been her fault and that she was going to do her best to try and get through the situation. Our last day was finally here, and right before we left the classroom, out of nowhere, a dark handprint was imprinted on the wall. Was it an official goodbye? Who knows, but that's what we took it as. We haven't heard or been back to that town again. So Dia de Muertos weaves a living tapestry of memory where every marigold, candle, and sugar skull tells a story. Each offering is an invitation, a guide, a gesture of love, a bridge between the living and those who have passed. The festival reminds us that death is not an end, but a continuation, a time to honor those we have lost while celebrating the bonds that connect generations. In the midst of grief, there is joy. In remembrance, there is life. Families and communities come together to laugh, cry, dance, and reflect, sharing a sacred yet vibrant celebration. Dia de Muertos shows us that love endures, memory lives on, and those who have gone before us remain by our side, walking with us through every flower strewn path and candlelit night, forever part of our story. So, before we jump into discussion, here are some of my sources for tonight. There's dayofthedead.holiday, clocks.ku.edu, Dia de los Muertos history, history.com backslash articles backslash Day of the Dead, thegracemuseum.org, howtopronounce originmexico.com, vocal.media backslash horror backslash three freaky Day of the Dead encounters. So that's my story, Jamie, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay. Okay. I, yeah, and it's a good story.
Yeah.
What a fascinating. This is to me. Before I say anything, let me get back to a comment here
Uh-huh.
from Heather. She said, "Love how colorful and beautiful they make death look. It's different than um, how we see death as black. It's uplifting instead of sad." And I completely agree. I think that's kind of the best. It's better than I can surmise this.
Uh-huh.
Um, and she actually went on in another message to say, "I would also like to try the sweetbreads.
Uh-huh.
Sounds delicious." Yes, I agree with that too. Um, my experience here, and it's limited, unfortunately, because I was only there for a limited time, but the the it's an event, and the celebration is uplifting. Where we tend to have when one of our friends or family members pass here, at least in our area. My experience is we have a funeral, then we have like a viewing, a funeral, and then we have an event after, some kind of a gathering, a reception, and everybody wears black. Everything is dull and muted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, colors, conversations. Yeah, there's not a lot of laughter. There's not a lot of joy. We're not celebrating their life. We're mourning their death.
Right.
And and that's okay. I'm not knocking it. I'm not. There's no disparagement on my part for that. But in the Mexican culture and the Latin American cultures, this is not. a negative thing. It's not the end. We will see you again,
Right.
and because every year, here we are in the first and second. These individuals we've lost through the course of time in that year have come back. Will come back to us, and we'll celebrate with them again. We'll see them again,
Right.
and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can say, from my own experience, my family, my direct family, when we lost someone, we would have a reception, but it would be a party as well. And it
Right.
was even better when it was in the summer because it was always outside.
Right.
And I just Googled it to see if it still exists, but we used to play this game called Pokino. And what is that, you may ask? It's a card game or a combination of bingo and a card game where you would have your bingo card would be card faces. So,
Okay.
seven of clubs, whatnot, and it's all on a card that you would get, and you get chips. And
Uh-huh.
you flip the deck, and that would be, if you have that card, you mark it. The difference is we would play it with pennies instead of discs to
Okay.
cover your spot. So
All
somebody would win money out of this. So even as a kid, I was gambling.
right.
So, but it was always fun, and we would gather around a couple picnic tables, and all of us would do this game. So it wasn't the sad, kind of just I miss him so or her so. It was
Right.
like, hey, they would love to play this game too because we always did it.
Right.
And I that's us. That's my family. It's not to say everybody, but we tend to hold that time to be somber when it really should or could be a celebration instead.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. I'm fortunate enough that we did that, or I guess we still do it technically, but
Right.
I haven't played that game in forever. Now I want to go get one.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's that difference of culture to say that we are happy for the time we've had with the person, and we look to see him again someday.
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
I think it's really cool. And when my mom passed away, we didn't have a service right away. We let everybody sort of have their mourning and their grief on their own, and then we had a celebration. Everybody got together and just told stories, had a meal, you know,
Yep.
and I think that's a better way of doing it. But I like the way that this Mexican tradition brings it back every year.
Yes.
That way you don't let go of the memories. Um, you hold on to the memories and you refresh them. So
Absolutely. And we tend to put cemeteries on over there. They're not centralized. Well, there are a few that are, but they're generally not
right,
centralized in the middle of a community. They're on the edges, and therefore it's a thing to get to it. So and we
right,
don't do it regularly, therefore, because we're doing other things. This is a time to bring everyone back into our homes and our
yeah,
spaces.
right.
That's beautiful.
So
There's a comment here from Heather.
yeah. Well, here's sorry, I pulled up the one from birth there. Life is to be celebrated. So
Yes, and
uh,
and all parts of it.
yeah,
And Heather's comment: my mom's family played that all the time of Pekino. Okay, well, it's not just us. When I was little, a lot of memories of the family all together.
right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
Yep. And cards are something everybody understands. It's
mm-hmm,
it's an easy thing to. It's a visualization is why you hold the card up. Everybody sees what it looks like. Therefore, you can tell if you got it or not.
right.
It's easy for the little ones to play as well as the big ones. I do understand. If I remember this correctly, the adults were playing like $1 a game as well. So
Uh-huh.
we probably should have reported something in our taxes. I don't know. Um, Gosh.
So, but I think and I also like how they celebrate it. There's a day just for children, and um, I think that's cool. And it you have the remembrance, but then you have a party at the end of the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
that's exactly what it should be.
yeah, yeah. So,
Very cool.
so sorry that was a very long story, but it was one
Well,
of those.
but those stories are really cool too. So
Mhm,
history matters, right? There's a reason, and it is a deep history. So it goes back thousands of years, and it's not just um, it's not a recent thing. And I think you did justice to that, and that's really cool for thank you.
mhm,
But the stories, they're obviously modernized. But in those, I got the feel of driving along the road. We've done it. I just did it Sunday night. We went
uh-huh,
up to State College to drop off stuff for Zoe and
uh-huh,
get some things she needed. And here, it's not late. It's like 9 o'clock, which felt like midnight considering coming out of. I was in Waynesboro in the morning, drove
Uh-huh.
home, then drove to State College. Like all.
Yep.
It 322 is a dark road, with nothing out there. Like what would happen if the car breaks down? Like all the stuff you have, the thoughts you have. But I can see how you see something alongside the road, you don't know what it is. You know, those moments can occur, and that's I felt that story. I really did. And I've been on those dark back roads many times along. That's where we live in our rural area. We can
Yep.
get out. We can get out in the country pretty quick. Um, and the idea of seeing a procession, and having folks just simply disappear is that's such a cool thing.
Hmm.
I get the visual of that. I could feel that too.
Yep.
So those are really cool stories, and I'm sure there are many more out there.
Hmm. I'm sure. So
And thanks for bringing them in, and that's a nice touch.
yeah, it was my pleasure. So yeah. So should we move on though and talk about what's coming up?
Yeah, that's good. Let's get going.
Let's see. Here we there it is.
All right. So, well, next week I'm going to talk about the Haunted Stronghold, which is Tales of the Castle of Good Hope in South Africa. One of those places where has a lot of history, and not all of it's good. So, when there's energy, there's activity. So therefore, and after that, the week after, Chad's going to wrap up his trilogy of the hauntings of the Virginia Historic Triangle, and we're going to tackle Williamsburg that night. And then Chad's going away, and we're going to have a guest in Steve Dills, and those who know Steve knows that I don't have to say much else because he's just going to do all of it. I'm gonna hit play, and he's going to go. And I love Steve, and I'm so excited for this. So I don't know what to expect. I know with some ideas I'm going to cue a few things for him, but I'm going to let him go, and
Uh-huh.
then we'll see how. Get your popcorn, get your drink, go to the bathroom, all that. It might be a while. And then the week after, very special guests as well, TDSE, which is a digital seance experience. Our dear friends Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez are coming back, and just discuss where they've been with TDSE and all the advancements they've made, and the progress in their work, and whatever else they want to talk about too. Same thing. We'll
Hmm.
let it go and see where it takes us. So we've had a 2-hour episode with them before. So same thing. Get your popcorn, get your drink, or snack of choice.
Uh-huh.
Use the bathroom and get a blankie, cuddle up, all good. And then after that, we're going to have another guest. We're going to take on Urban Legends, but Volume 3 in this case, but they're local legends. And my friend Corey Asperl is going to join us, who is a local investigator and a huge fan of Urban Legends. And he's been been in my ear for a while about all of these. Do you know about this? Do you know about this? Do you know about this? And I'm like, dude, come on the show. Let's talk about all of it. So
Uh-huh.
he
Cool.
readily agreed. So I'm very excited to have him join us that night. And that'll come up on December 9th. And then right behind that, Chad's going to be in Florida for a couple weeks. So you can't not do St. Augustine Lighthouse when you're coming home from Florida. So
And I'm gonna do a research trip.
I understand. I wasn't going to give that away yet, but
Yep.
the plan is to get there and have some firsthand experience. So very cool.
Tickets are sitting on the printer right behind me.
Nice. All right.
So
Well, I'm looking forward to all of these episodes. So
yeah. Yep.
yeah, I hope you all join us for each one of them as well. All right, and then we have some investigations coming up. There's 2 more yet this year. The next is Saturday evening at Booby's Brewery in Mountjoy, PA, our home base, and I believe that says 1 ticket left. Right,
It does. Yep.
very small font once again. You're killing me, dude. Um, but there may be more options to that if you have a guest with you or something. Let us know when you get there. We might be able to squeeze you in, but technically there's only 1 ticket left,
Right.
and it could be yours. So don't wait. And you can find those tickets at boobiesbrewery.com on their events tab. And then our last investigation for the year is on December 6th. That is coming up about a month out. So tickets are still available for that one. You can come and join us and hang out at the brewery and see what we can find.
Yep.
All right. And then lastly, how to contact us. Obviously you're catching us here on this podcast, but if you're interested at all in Jot Paranormal, we have a website. It's JOTT-NYX, NYX, paranormal.com. And or you can send us an email at paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com. And all of our stuff is captured under a link tree, which is linktr.ee and then slash paranormal lens, all spelled out. So all their socials are there. Our store is there. So if you're looking for some Christmas gifts, it's not too early to start shopping. Plenty of cool stuff there. And then ways to connect with us, of course, along the way. So give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll keep you in the loop what we're up to.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of stuff.
Yeah. Lots going on. So,
Yes. Well, sir, that was a fun one,
yeah. So,
and a good timely topic as well, coming right off of the actual weekend. So um, looking forward to talking about it some more.
yeah, definitely. So, well, do you have anything else, Jamie, before we wrap this up? Or
I don't. Let's do it.
okay. Um, Emmy finally came to turn the air filter off, so that's why I just got quiet. So Dia de Muertos teaches us the beauty of remembering and celebrating lives past. Take it to heart, approach the unseen with reverence, and keep discovering. Stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. So, good night, everybody.